Hi everyone, TSW here. In this video, I'm going to be going through not only Naxx 10-man, but also using the very, well, I suppose famous in a way, Unrelenting Assault build from the Protection Warrior, or the Warrior, but people are wanting to use it as a Protection Warrior. Now, there have been loads of other content creators online, Reddit, YouTube, etc., showing off this build and what it can do. And I'm going to do the same. However, I'm in a Naxx 10-man, so showing you the build in a raid environment, my thoughts, my feedback, my opinion, and you know, it's to sum up, it's fun. It does have its empty moments, like its downside, its weak points, and I'll go through all of that. But realistically speaking, I don't think it's going to see much play in raids. There might be one or two encounters in tier 7 where you might have your, let's say, your regular main tank prop paladin. They might dual spec into their ret, and you might dual spec into your Unrelenting Assault prop build just for an encounter or two, but it's really an encounter or two at most, in my opinion. But we'll go through what it's like on trash, because there are some on trash sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not so good. Let's get stuck in, and like and subscribe if you're enjoying what you're seeing. Let's start getting into the meat and potatoes. Let's go. Okay, so straight away, a new Khan. I do pretty good damage here. Why am I doing good damage here? It's because the ad's up. People in the raid aren't focusing the ad, they're focusing the boss. So for a lot of the time, it's just me, revenge on the boss and the ad. So I'm just doubling my damage of revenge for the majority of the fight. The boss is hitting 40% HP soon, and I'm just here attacking both. Lovely. Also, Death Knights, if you don't know, have a sigil bug where they're getting extra damage. So realistically, if the Death Knight wasn't bugged, I would probably be #1 damage here. So, that's cool. So if you are unfamiliar with the build, let's just show you the build quickly. This is kind of what I would suggest more or less now. Unrelenting Assault is down here in the arms tree, reducing the cooldown of your overpower, but most importantly, your revenge by 4 seconds, which makes it a 1 second cooldown ability. That also means that it's the same cooldown as the global cooldown. So as long as a revenge is available, you can revenge every single global. If you don't know about revenge, it requires a dodge, a block, or a parry, an attack coming into you, and for you as the warrior to dodge, block, parry, and attack. And then revenge is available for, I think, is it 6 seconds or so? I'm not actually sure how long the revenge window is. But normally you're dodge, block, parrying a lot, so it happens, you can use revenge on cooldown when it has its regular 5 second cooldown. But when it has a 1 second cooldown, you want a lot more dodge, blocks, and parries from your character so that you can revenge every second. Now, most bosses have a 2 second swing timer, so they'll hit you 1, 2, and then they'll hit you 1, 2, and then they'll hit you 1, 2. If you're not consistently getting dodge, blocks, parries, you're not going to consistently be able to use revenge. Particularly when you're revenge, wait a second, because you need to wait for the next attack to land or to be dodged, blocked, parried. And that's, fights like Patchwork, we'll get to that, because Patchwork hits quickly and you can do good damage with spamming revenge on Patchwork. But the rest of the build is just kind of like whatever. Parry's good, obviously, because it helps proc revenge. We've got trauma, helps the bleed damage, yada yada yada. You don't necessarily need second wind really as a raid spec, because you're not really getting stunned, and you have healers. If you find mobs whilst leveling that stun you, this is a really good talent because it helps heal you. And then going into protection, as a raid spec, I do like vigilance. It can just help even out the threat, because sometimes you are threat starved and you struggle to build threat. This can help smooth it out a little bit, just a little bit. It's not going to be insane threat, just because vigilance doesn't give you an insane amount of threat, but it can give you some. I'm also glyphing for vigilance just to help push a little bit more threat. And then I really like improved defensive stance for the enrage, dealing 10% more damage when enraged. So that's good. The other noteworthy talents are insight for more crits, anticipation, more chance to have revenge proc, improved thunderclap, just more damage on thunderclap, improved shield specialization, again increasing your chance to have revenge available. Obviously, improved revenge, 60% more damage, and attacking a second target must have. It turns revenge from a single target ability into a cleave ability. And then also, very importantly, shield mastery, increasing your value of your block, which doesn't impact revenge, but it does reduce the cooldown of shield block by 20 seconds. So this takes a 60-second shield block down to a 40-second shield block, and shield block increases your block value by 100% and chance to block by 100%. So as long as shield block is up and it's up for 10 seconds, you're blocking every attack or dodge or parry. Dodge and parry supersede the block just because you take no damage when a block and parry. But it guarantees any incoming attacks are going to proc revenge. So that's a really nice window of opportunity. Like when you have cooldowns lining up or on the pull and you want to get that threat initially, use shield block, and then revenge is guaranteed for every melee swing that's coming in your way. Okay, so that's the spec. The glyphs. Glyph of Sweeping Strike is pretty crucial. It just means that you can always use Sweeping Strikes. I don't know how mandatory it will be because we are speccing for Tactical Mastery. So you are retaining some rage when you stance dance. But, you know, maybe just 1 point or like 2 points in stance mastery. Just so, I suppose if you're getting Glyph of Sweeping Strikes, you don't need any points in Tactical Mastery. So, yeah, it's an expensive Glyph slot to take up, but I suppose so is Vigilance. You could put Vigilance as something else. Anyway, Glyph of Cleaving is another good one. Just increases your cleave from 2 targets to 3 when you're tanking multiple mobs. And then Glyph of Command, as a warrior, you're probably using Commanding Shout. Glyph of Charge, if you're charging, it's just nice to have a longer range. And Glyph of Thunderclap is quite a big one as well, increasing the radius of your Thunderclap by 2 yards. Okay, so let's jump into some more raid footage and talk about that. Here's a pack that I think we pull into a second pack or something. So this is 2 mobs. I was getting borderline RSI, which is repetitive strain injury, on my hand or my wrist from spamming 2 so much. So 2 is my keybind for revenge. And because revenge is such a big attack, it does so much damage, and is obviously where the whole talent spec revolves around, it's so it's such a DPS loss if you are just trying to squeeze in a shield slam before a revenge proc, because revenge is so much better in a trash or a multiple mob situation than shield slam. It's like you're just spamming revenge. If you don't have the revenge proc, okay, I can use a shield slam, and then go revenge. Just keep spamming revenge, even if it's not available, because as soon as it's available, you want it to be used, because then it gives you the opportunity to proc a second revenge. Like, say for example, you get 2 blocks in half a second, and if you don't press revenge quickly enough before the second block occurs, you're not proccing that second block, that second revenge, and that's wasted. And then you go on a spree of no avoidance for 10 seconds, and you've got no revenge. Also, as you can see in a single target fight like Mexner, I'm using shield slam, revenge as priority, and then shield slam. And then with a conventional protection warrior build, I would be filling in my globals with almost always devastate. You don't go down long enough or down far enough into the protection tree to get devastate. So I'm left literally with, heroic throw, which I think has a 60-second cooldown. You have thunderclap, which has a 6-second cooldown, and you have concussion blow with, 45-second cooldown or something. What does the talent tree say? 30-second cooldown, sorry. So you don't really have any solid, consistent global filler. You've just got heroic throw, concussion blow, and then thunderclap with a 6-second cooldown. And then hopefully revenge procs again, and then you can shield slam again. But a lot of the time, you've got these weak global cooldowns, which again would normally be filled with devastate, and they're just weak. So you have all this power of revenge, but because it's single target, it's not proccing that often, because, as you can see here, my revenge just isn't proccing all the time. Obviously, I'm web wrapped right now, but look, I've shield slammed, I'm thunderclapping, damage shouting. Oh look, I've got revenge up. Revenge, okay. I keep my Sunder Armor up. I shield slam, no revenge proc, No revenge proc. Oh, now I've got revenge. And it's, you know, it's few and far between single target. It really is a weak point of the build. Now, obviously, what you could do is, like I suggested at the beginning, is have your prop paladin, dual spec, go into their protection, paladin spec, and then tank these mobs these bosses where it's a bit clunky, to say the least, as a warrior using the Unrelenting Assault build. Or you could, I suppose, have a second tank spec as the warrior and just go for a full fat deep prop build. That's up to you. Here we are with some more trash. Moonkin doing lots of damage, peaking at nearly 9k DPS. Oh my god. And then prop warrior, Unrelenting Assault, doing okay. Okay, so this shows you the weak side of the Unrelenting Assault build. I thunderclap here, and that's all I've got in terms of AoE. I sweeping strikes, I get my revenge out, and I use some cooldowns and AoE taunt eventually. Because I've got nothing else. Obviously, with a deep prop build, you're going all the way down to the bottom of the talent tree. And what's at the bottom of the talent tree for a prop warrior? It's Shockwave. Now, these mobs whirlwind. These mobs can be stunned. I could have Shockwaved if I was a conventional protection build, and that would have been so much easier. Like, revenge is good for threat, don't get me wrong, but it's only hitting 2 targets or 4 when you have sweeping strikes up. If there are 6 or 10 mobs, most of those aren't getting big threat from me. I'm doing 1 thunderclap every 6 seconds, which it's significantly better than TBC or like level 60, of course, but it's, you know, you're still going up against Seed of Corruption and all the other AoE that the rest of the raid has. You know, they're not going to want to stop their AoE so that Unrelenting Assault Warrior can slowly pick up the mobs. That's one of the reasons why I decided to go for Vigilance and Glyph of Vigilance. Although, to be honest with you, I've got it full-time on the prop paladin, so it's not really, you know, helping the tank group, the 2 tanks as a whole. I'm kind of leeching off the paladin to help myself. Obviously, ideally, let's say that the Moonkin or whoever is doing consistently large AoE damage, it would be better for the Vigilance to be on the Moonkin, or whoever's doing the consistent AoE threat, to add in to the 2 tanks threat. Because at the moment, like I say, if it's on the paladin, I'm just swapping which tank has a bit of threat instead of taking it from an AoE DPSer who we don't want threat on. So I'm not generating new threat for the tanks. I'm just moving threat from one tank to another, which is limited, of course. Obviously, Vesuvius is like whatever. I was doing the mind control thing, so that's not worth seeing. Some of this trash is, however, when it's 2 mobs, like the guys, the cavalry, the guys on the horses before Vesuvius, that was a good pack. This one's also pretty good because it's 2 mobs into 2 more mobs. For a short period, there were 4 mobs, but when it's 2 mobs, revenge scales perfectly. I have an ability that hopefully, you know, is being procced a lot, and it's doing high damage to 2 targets. And when there are 2 targets attacking me, that's so good. You know, like going back to the Moonkin example, he's not going to hurricane 2 mobs, okay? His AoE isn't very strong on 2 mobs, or it's rubbish. He's just there starfiring or wrathing, whatever, right? It's amazing for the warrior. The same way that for in TBC, a feral druid tanking 3 mobs and a feral druid can be really high on the damage meter, because 3 mobs isn't really great for AoE classes, and it's not very good for single target classes. But for specific abilities like revenge, 2 targets, swipe in TBC for 3 targets, it's really good. Like, you can be like top of the damage meter almost as a feral tank on trash when it's 3 mobs, just because you have such an even as a tank, such an efficient ability that just does 3 attacks, 3 attacks, 3 attacks, 3 attacks, and everyone else is there, you know, dotting 3 targets slowly and not using Seed of Corruption or whatever, you know. Here's a pack where it's just 3 mobs. Again, like 3 mobs is also like decent, because if they're all attacking me, there are more chances for me to dodge, block, parry to trigger the revenge. Like right now, I'm not having revenge procs. Bit awkward. And my damage suffers. So, you know, also one thing, I don't have it up on the screen at the moment. Maybe I'll try and find it. There was someone in my stream the other day who, is it 80 upgrades? Who sent me a build. Let me see if I can find it quickly. And is this it? Yeah, I think this is it. So here we go. So he was showing a build that had, this isn't exactly where it might be, but something along these lines where you're just wearing high avoidance gear. So dodge, block, parry is the focus with expertise and hit as well. Hopefully you've got a drain eye for a bit more hit. You know, something around this area. This isn't by any means like min-max to the full, but you know, that's the kind of essence of a good gear set for this spec. So you kind of have total avoidance 84%. Like you're going to be dodging, blocking, parrying so much of the time. It's going to be very much more consistent. Like right now, I'm using the gear that you're given on the beta. So that's like blues and epics. Like you're not even crit immune without using resilience, or like, and you don't even have enough gems. You have like a meta gem, a helmet gem, and like one other gem or something in the standard tank gear that it gives you. So you barely have any gem options. You basically have to wear the PvP items to be crit immune. There's a bug on the beta as well where you're getting crushing blows all the time, or often. You shouldn't be getting crushing blows from the boss. So yeah, it's a bit clunky just from Blizzard's side. But also on top of that, the clunkiness of the Unrelenting Assault build in itself as well. So as you can see, the damage meter, I'm doing pretty good. I'm second. One thing I would say is a lot of people in this raid aren't like Wrath of the Lich King players and don't have the experience necessarily. So, I mean, this is the first time I'm playing Unrelenting Assault as well. And a couple of my macros aren't ideal. Like I just copy pasted these macros and just went boom, made my character, you know, and before I knew it, I'm in Naxx. So I wasn't prepared as much as I should have been, perhaps. But yeah, like obviously, like the gear's a bit scuffed. There are bugs on the server, and the people that I'm comparing my damage to in the raid could probably do more damage, is what I'm saying. So there's lots of varying factors as well. It's not a case of, oh, TSW did really good damage in P1 on Gothic the Harvester. Oh my god, this is like some mega spec that we're going to see people using. It's like, no. Also, playing Wrath of the Lich King private servers, Warrior tapers off so hard. Like, let me open an image that I made the other day on stream. Move my webcam out of the way a little bit. So tank is A tier. Goodness scale is the y-axis. Amazing until, you know, the end of, like, until you start getting raid gear, essentially. And DPS sucks until you start getting raid gear, essentially. The tank and DPS kind of swap positions in that regard. Yeah, and right now, during this Naxx clear, we've got the glory days of the warrior before it starts to suck. And that's where you're seeing the warrior looking amazing. It doesn't stay amazing by any means. Oh, this pack was awkward as well, because it's I pulled a pack on the left, the other tank pulled a pack on the right, and there were still some mobs from the previous pack. So we had lots of mobs here. And again, it's really, I don't want to use the word cringe, but it's really awkward when all I have is Thunderclap and Challenging Shout. It's not a good combination. Having Shockwave, like, this is one of the first times in Wrath, or maybe the first time ever, where I don't have Shockwave as a tank, and it shows. Also, I can see myself Sunder Armoring instead of Devastating because I don't have Devastate. Like, the lack of Shockwave is glaringly apparent, and also it's frustrating not having a consistent damage ability. So here we're cleaving. We do wipe because we're not tanking the ads in the back. You do need to tank the ads in the back. In cleave on 2 targets, I think I'm out threating the Paladin. There's a bug with Paladin threat as well. Paladin threat sucks. Unrelenting Assault build is very good. So I'm just pulling the mobs off him. in the Glyph fight with 2 targets, my damage was pretty good. I mean, that's consistent throughout the whole Naxx 10. We're doing it single target now. And again, similar to Maxna, it's really awkward because I'm not like Revenge isn't being procced all the time. One thing that would be good is to revert back to this build, but using the kind of gear where you've got access to like BIS gear and you have like 80% avoidance. That would be really strong to go back here and have consistent Revenge. Then the story might change in terms of its viability and also single target. But like also, I didn't want to use Thunderclap particularly when tanking bosses like Mexna and to a point Patchwork, because I don't want to increase the swing time of the bosses, because I want them to have as many options or many opportunities or as many hits on me per second or per minute to proc Revenge by dodge, block, parry. So that's a bit awkward as well. Like I'm wanting to almost increase my damage. I don't care about how much damage I take. I just want as many swings on the target from the target as possible. So that can be, clunky if your tank's not wanting. Like your tank isn't like normally your tank doesn't want to take damage, but in this spec you kind of want to take hits. You want hits directed your way. So as you can see, we're now on Noth the Plague Bringer, and I'm bottom of the damage meter. We've just got the Prop Paladin behind me, but we've got some ads. So if I remember correctly, this was recorded 2 or 3 days ago. I think I ramp up the damage meter. So let's see. 8k crits with Revenge. That's nice. And to be honest, the damage of all the DPSs in the raid is very close. So it doesn't take a huge amount more damage from me to work my way up the field. But getting up the damage meter is exactly what I do. So I go from being bottom to being second. Again, only being beaten by a Death Knight who has a bugged sigil, which is making Death Knights do loads of damage. But even without the buff sigil, I think a Death Knight could probably be top on damage, because Death Knights, even without bugs on beta, can do good damage. So getting the Sweeping Strikes out. No Revenge proc. And because we have 2 tanks, the Paladins picked them up. I've just wasted Sweeping Strikes. I've done nothing. On these mobs, I did so little. I did about 10% or less than what I could have if I was able to get threat of the mobs initially. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. Not like, obviously it can go that way if you have a second tank who's there to catch the mobs if I'm not dealing the threat, and I can't deal the threat. Like all I have is Thunderclap essentially, and then I need to immediately start revenging to do well, and the mob's not attacking me, or I'm not getting lucky with the dodge, block, parry because my gear isn't good enough. That's awkward. But if they weren't attacking the Paladin tank, they could have just as easily been attacking a DPS. A mage could have died or whatever, and that wouldn't have been good either. I'm just going to have some water. But, when you've got the boss on you, it's really nice when you have a boss on you when you have a good threat lead as well, because then that's consistent. Attacks on you, hopefully proccing Revenge, and then sometimes here when I had the boss attacking me, I was just attacking the ads. Oh, I forgot. I wasn't even tanking the boss here. The Paladin asked if he could tank the boss, and I was like, yeah, sure. I wasn't even attacking the boss. There was a mob, the boss, consistently not attacking me, so my damage definitely could have been better had the boss actually been on me. And here, I'm actually doing less damage than the Paladin off tank. I'm tanking the boss, and the Paladin does more damage than me. Interesting. But on Lotheb, I'm tanking almost the full time. I mean, Paladin off tank does decent damage. That's what I'm getting from this. Again, Lotheb, single target, nothing to speak of in terms of, oh wow, this spec is amazing. No, it's worse. Definitely single target. And what do we have here? The final pull before Patchwork. And it's a nice big pull. Lots of mobs. You can see the Warlocks doing lots of damage. And I'm there, middle of the pack, 4th on damage. It's not insane. But what is insane? Patchwork. Let's go. Patchwork hits quickly. He has, is it a 1 second swing timer? Well, he hits with his offhand and his main hand. So he's swinging 2 weapons. And it shows. Revenge is up quite a lot, okay? And my damage indicates that. I'm 5th on the damage meter now. Am I 5th or 4th by the end of the fight? I'm not sure. But it's good. Like Patchwork, again, because Patchwork hits quicker because of a main hand on an offhand attack than most bosses, more attacks are coming my way. It's like tanking 2 mobs at once. I'm tanking his main hand and I'm tanking his offhand. And obviously, well, Revenge, it'd be nice if Revenge hit his main hand and his offhand. What's that? Kolagan in Ulduar? That's a fight where Revenge might be good. But yes, proccing Revenge on Patchwork is good. And the damage is also good because of the quantity of Revenges I can deal. But obviously, the Revenge attacking 2 targets does nothing here because it's only 1 boss. And again, I don't know if, like, I think at some point, surely in the raid, like now, Sundrama fades. I have to think, oh wow, Sundrama faded. Because normally, as a tank, particularly if you're just tanking a boss, you don't ever need to worry about Sundrama because you're going to be wanting to fill in the blank global cooldowns with Devastate because it does good damage and it's your filler, and it far down on your like priority list, you're thinking, oh, and it also keeps up the Sundrama debuff. You know, I don't want to use Sundrama because it does no damage. I'd rather, you know, Concussion Blow, Heroic Throw, Thunderclap if my Shield Slam and my Revenge are on cooldown. But obviously you want to still maintain Sundrama. So that's a shame. And I've still not noticed because as a tank, like, you know, Sundrama debuff being on the boss with a regular spec is a given. You know, at the beginning of the fight, you can prioritize Devastate a little bit just to get the Sundrama debuff on there quicker if you want it to be there. But I've still not noticed that Sundrama's not there. I remember during the stream, I'm like, oh no, how long has Sundrama not been up? But it's whatever. Naxx isn't terribly difficult, so it's not the end of the world. But again, that's one of the reasons why it's clunky. You definitely want to have like a weak aura or a good eye to maintain the Sundrama debuff, because wow, I'm doing more damage playing a Unrelenting Assault Warrior. Look how cool I am. But if you're not maintaining Sundrama and you don't have that 20% reduction of armor on the target, you know, you're peeing in the wind a bit. It's like, wow, I'm doing more damage with my build, but I'm not helping the raid increase their physical damage by keeping up Sundrama. So you have to keep up Sundrama just to do your due diligence to the raid and to be a team player. The same way that I'm using Commanding Shout because it's a good HP buff for the raid, as opposed to being, I mean, like, attack power battle shout for the raid is good, don't get me wrong, but you know, it's safer. And I'm not here trying to be like, oh yeah, let's try and get some 99 passes. It's just a case of, you know, I want to clear the dungeon at the end of the day. Also, doing this in like blues and a bit of a couple of epics is a little bit scary. It's not too bad, but definitely for a first clear of Naxx, I would not recommend this. You're definitely missing out on some really good talents like Vitality, increasing your stamina by how many points did you get in it? Is it 3? Like 10% stamina is really strong, obviously. Critical block is strong. And also one thing that I noticed almost immediately was the lack of Warbringer. Not being able to charge or intercept in defensive stance is not fun. You know, Warrior's really fun when you have that maneuverability. You know, Warrior tank in Wrath of the Lich King is the weakest tank by a fairly significant margin. You know, we take the most damage, and our single target threat isn't the best. Like, it scales very poorly. You know, we stagnate whilst every other tank class gets better. Like, if they get better, you know, if they get 20% better with every tier, Warriors get like 2% better. Like, our progression is so much worse than every other tank. But day one, or the first clear, Warrior is strong, you know, but we just don't get any stronger, really. Every other tank does. Maybe that's a video topic for another time. Going over the differences in the tanks and what makes each tank strong or each tank weak for different scenarios. So again, these mobs, I do insane damage just because it's 2 mobs in a pack, followed by 2 more mobs in a pack. Globulus also very strong on the damage because similar to Anubra Khan, the first boss we did, a lot of the time I can have an ad attacking me. So when the slime spawns, I'm just taunting it. So often I've got a little buddy with me. I've got this buddy, the Fallout slime, and he's just letting me get hit. Like I'm dodging, blocking, parrying twice as often-ish because I've got 2 NPCs attacking me. And Revenge is attacking 2 targets because we're talented, it attacks 2. I'm having a great time. I'm second on damage, only behind a bugged Death Knight dealing more damage than they should. I'm having a great time. But also, is it practical? Like the melee could cleave this ad down. Like in like 25 bans or when I'm playing DPS warrior, I'm there trying to get these slimes attacking me as a fury warrior to generate rage, to whirlwind more mobs simultaneously. So someone's getting a boost of damage from having the slime around them. It's the warrior tank in this case, Unrelenting Assault, or it could be the warrior and the melee using their cleave as well. I had the add on me, so I had the extra damage it provided. If I was a Fury Warrior, I'd have wanted it to be in melee range behind the boss to benefit the Fury Warrior. What was his name? Glyph? Was that the mob we just did? Nothing to speak of. It's single target. Same here. Thaddeus, single target, nothing to speak of. It's quite boring actually. What's nice is when you're playing Proc Warrior is obviously like the sword and board proc refreshes and reduces the rage cost of your shield slam. So you've got a little bit of a dynamic rotation there, something to think about. Whereas here, you're just praying for the revenge procs that come few and far between. Also, fun fact, I don't know if this is fixed, but that Death Knight died because I was the Ice Tomb, and if you move even like a millimeter in the first like half second or second after the ice block ends, that registers to the game as being the ice block has moved, and the player behind it isn't behind the ice block and they die. So if you're the ice block, don't move until the AoE has gone and everyone survived. Don't be like move. I want to get back and tank the boss. And you move as the ice block ends. You want to be still stood in the same position when the ice block ends, because like the ice block ends before the initiation of the line of sight to the AoE. And then Kel'Thuzad, really unremarkable again. You're just there hoping for some revenges. Very boring, I think. Generally speaking, Kel'Thuzad is actually pretty boring just because it's such a long fight with not much going on. I'm just there praying to the RNG gods that I get some revenge procs. If I was tanking the beetles in the back, like our prop paladin is, I'd be revenging all the time with those, I think, 5 mobs, because it's bugged in 10-man. We've got 5 ads in the back. That would have been fun. I would have gone, well, maybe not from the bottom to the top of the damage meter, but I would have done more damage. Okay, well, thank you for watching this. I did do a couple of heroics, and I will be continuing my heroic series to include all of them. A couple of them I did do in this Unrelenting Assault build, so that'll be fun. They'll be coming through in the next few days. If you enjoyed this and stayed to the end, thank you so much. It's another long video. I'm going to be working on my Sartharian 3 Drakes guide, go into deep detail on all of that and help you guys have the best chance to one-shot or to understand every mechanic and to get that boss killed, because Sarth 3 Drakes is by far the hardest fight in phase 1 of classic Wrath of the Lich King. So that's going to be a really interesting one to if you want to learn about any fight in Wrath Classic, it's Sarth 3 Drakes. Okay, I'm finished. Thanks for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out.